Hi, we're live again, and this is going to be the very last session we're going to be having on Instagram Live. I'm Zat Abiodun. Thank you for joining. You guys have been waiting. Thank you, Fabdas. Thank you, Richie. Thank you. I'm excited this evening, and we're going to be having Benjamin Taiwo here live. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be talking about the future of work. Please indicate where you're joining us from, Nigeria, outside Nigeria. My guest tonight is from the United Kingdom. Okay, Benjamin Taiwo will be joining us from the UK. So please tell us where you're joining us from. KG Cole, thank you, and thank you for your message earlier. Thank you. Tell us where you're joining us from so we can just celebrate you and recognize you. Richie, thank you so much. Thank you. We're going to be having the final session. It's been exciting since Monday. We've had a great time since Monday. Oh, Joy, Wealthy Bell, Joy. Good to have you here. KG Cole, you're joining us from the US. Thank you. Azan, Damilare, Brotherly, it's good to see you. I'm Zat from Egbeda, Lagos. Thank you so much. Transparency Speaks. Thank you for joining. Thank you so much. Thank you, Transparency Speaks. Joy from Ibadan, it's good to be here. It's good to be here. Okay, our guest is right here. Yes, Benjamin is here. Benjamin is here. I'll be bringing you on shortly. Thank you so much. Yes. Okay, so Transparency Speaks, you're joining from Ibadan. Okay, you're there from Ibadan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's going to be an amazing session. Olumide Fadiya, thank you for joining us. Transparency is from Ojo, Ibadan. Thank you. Please just indicate where you're joining from so we can celebrate you, we can recognize you. It's going to be an awesome time this evening as we as I discuss with Benjamin Taiwo, who is a business mechanic, who is an employability advisor, and who actually conducts employability seminars, for the past few years now, and is a senior lecturer in the United Kingdom University. So we're going to be bringing him live. Thank you so much. Okay, without wasting time, I'm going to bring BOT Taiwo. I call him BOT. We call him BOT. Maxwell. Oh, Maxwell, now you be on Max. Maxwell is my colleague. Okay, he's my colleague at work. I don't know, say now you be on her, Max. So, okay, Maxwell, so good to see you. So good to see you. All right. Olumide Fadiya, thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, Transparency Speaks. Wow, thank you. You said, okay, you have always been a source of inspiration to all union leaders from LATEC. Leaders Ladokite. Wow. Thank you. Transparency Speaks. Thank you for the kind words. Thank you for the words of encouragement. I really appreciate this. Okay, I'll just bring on Benjamin right now. Okay, all right, I'm going live with you so that we can start this and make some progress. So, hello, good evening, you're live.
How are you, sir?
Good evening, so good to see you.
Can you hear me very clearly?
Yes, I can hear you. It's very clear. Can you hear me?
I'm trying to find the. Give me a second. I'm just trying to find the button.
I can hear you very well, and I can see you too.
Okay, give me a second. Just give me a quick second.
Okay, that's fine.
I want to be able to hear you clearly.
Okay, that's
excellent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So can you see me and can you hear me?
Yeah, I can see you. I can hear you. Perfect.
Fantastic. And you're looking good.
Look, for someone who lives in Nigeria, look, every time I see you guys, I just think, you guys look fresh.
So good to see you, beauty. So good to see you. So good to see you. And I want to thank you for coming live this evening. Thank you for the sacrifice. I know it took you so much for you to be here this evening. And a lot of people out there, they are itching to hear from you this evening. So what I'll do is I'm going to read your profile and then we'll get right into this. Okay?
Right.
Okay. Benjamin is a professional with extensive business, strategic, and operational management experience within the private and voluntary sectors. He's a United Kingdom University lecturer and facilitator of workshops locally and abroad for corporate organizations in a variety of fields, including employability, organizational development, business startups, strategic management, and performance improvement. Benjamin has worked on complex social intervention initiatives with a track record of helping people with some of the most challenging situations get their lives back on track in paid and self-employment. His organizational competencies are used to support startups, business owners, and managers to shape strategic directions and deliver organizational growth. Benjamin holds an MBA from a UK university. He is a fellow of the Chartered Management Institute, United Kingdom, and a fellow of the Higher Education Academy, United Kingdom. So this evening, I'm happy to welcome Benjamin to this live Instagram event. So if you're there, my audience, just give him an applause, you know, and I'm glad to have you here, Benjamin. Thank you so much for joining us. You're somebody I connected with, and I have come to appreciate and respect and value your friendship since we met. I've seen you conduct employability seminars and workshops. You've been conducting that for about 5 years in Nigeria. Even though you live in the United Kingdom, you come back to Nigeria and then try, as a way of giving back, conduct employability seminars for graduates and all that. Now, this evening we're going to be talking about the future of work. And I personally think it's very important, especially because of the way this pandemic has changed our lives. Now, a lot of people are getting used to what we now call remote work, working from home. Okay, it was not something that a lot of people think would have happened 6 months ago. But you see a lot of people holding meetings via Microsoft Teams, via Zoom. Not just work, but even the way we conduct our religious services has changed. For example, in our church, we use Zoom now for service and all that and all that. So much has changed. Now, some years back, I was in the United Kingdom and I visited the local branch of a particular bank. And I saw so many people in the banking hall that particular day, wanted to carry out some transactions. Less than 6 months after, when I visited that same local branch, because my wife was living in that community at that time, visited that same local branch, I saw that where I saw human beings, I actually saw machines. I saw equipment. The very first time I came, maybe I saw about 20-something people in the banking hall. But the second time I came there, I saw less than maybe about 2 or 3 people in the banking hall. Where there were human beings, there were equipment, there were machines that could do anything the human beings were doing before. So I want to ask you, what do you think are the key drivers of change of the world of work?
Wow. Okay. There are a lot of drivers to the world of work, but what we need to do, because it's a limited period of time that we've got, I think we should talk about 3 key drivers that mean that the world of work is going to change. They are not the causes of the change. They are the drivers. Causes are the reasons for which you want to do something. Drivers are the tools that are going to take you there. Just literally so. So if, for example, you were going to go from Ikeja to Ikoyi to have a party, because it's someone's birthday or it's someone's wedding anniversary or what have you, the reason is the party, the birthday, or the wedding anniversary. But driver could be your Uber driver. It could be yourself. It could be you walking down. Those are the drivers, the things that are going to make it happen, perhaps quick enough. So I'm going to talk about 3 things, after which I will then zero on the third one, which is technology, emerging technology, and then give a few scenarios of industries and sectors where some of these drivers will have effect. And what I will then, encourage people who are either, watching us live or who will join to watch, when the link is out, haven't been recorded, is to give themselves a bit of homework to do. Okay, and what I'm going to ask people to do is get a pen, get a sheet of paper. Some may want to type onto their devices. It's absolutely fine, because I will discuss some scenarios, and the workshop audience will then do the bit that has to do with the thinking part. I'm not going to people. They will do the thinking and then know the specific actions that they have to take in order to intervene, to minimize the negative effects and to maximize the positive effects that come with it. Let me start by just giving a few statistics, particularly to Nigeria, this one. When I, by the way, I've been doing employability in Nigeria since 2012, so it's been, what, 8 years now, thereabouts.
Yes.
Yeah, in Nigeria. And one of the key things that we had to quickly do before the programs began was to conduct a quick research. I like to have evidence-based events or projects. Excellent. Wealthy Belly has a pen and paper. That's fantastic. I conducted this research over a period of time. And one of the things that I found is, and this is shocking, of the graduates that leave university in Nigeria, 7 out of 10 of them are going to go back to their parents to rely on financial support, at least for the next 2 to 3 years.
Wow.
That was shocking. The other 3% will just slimly enter the industries. Some will have to pay bribes to do it. Some will have to work terribly hard to do that. And others may have to pay something else other than money, if that makes sense. So that became the basis on which we began to do the work that we started to do. The second statistics that I wanted to mention, this is a global statistics now. It's 60% of the world's unemployed are going to be young people, i.e. people graduating right through to people who are in their 40s or 50s, or people who are changing jobs. But 60% of them will be young people. The third statistics relates to why we're here, and which is that in the next 2 to 3 years, 1 in every 3 job roles would have changed in the workplace. It means that man will begin to work closely with machines. We're beginning to see that. You give a testimony of your experience in a UK bank. I mean, most of the banks in the UK now hardly find anyone who's serving at the counter because you're able to do most things yourself. And before I go into the drivers and then the scenarios, people begin to think and begin to fear. And they think, oh, machines are going to take our jobs. No, machines will not take your jobs. What machines will do instead is challenge and drive us so that we then begin to rethink how we do our job. Every single piece of technology that has ever come since the 18th century or 17th century or 16th century has been developed with one thing in mind, just one thing, and that is efficiency. It's not 666, it's not any of the nonsense. It is to make work easier, faster, and with better returns. Those are the three reasons technologies come. From your ironing machine to the telephone that we use, the airplane that we fly, to the cars we drive. Every single piece of development in technology has focused on one thing: to make things more efficient. As a result of which, whatever technology that is going to come, which is going to change the world of work, will then mean that man will do things better, faster, quicker, easier, spend less time, derive more results. Okay.
Yeah.
So now to the drivers. The first driver of this change to the world of work, whether we like it or not, and by the way, these aren't drivers that prayers can wade away, okay? Regardless of how you pray. Prayers won't stop these drivers. They are part of human development. The first one is competition. Competition is growing at a much faster level than we ever knew before. And if you're in the banking sector, you will remember this because you're now there for 20 years now. When I first opened my bank account, I think maybe 1990, 92, thereabouts, it was with a bank called Union Bank. And there were very few of them in those days, if you remember. There was Union Bank, there was First Bank, UBA, Wema. What else was there? Federal Mortgage Bank came later. But then 10 years after, 1999, thereabouts, or 98, then came the wave of newer banks. Yes, we had the Prudent Bank, we had GTB, we had Continental Trust Bank, yes? And much later, then other banks like you guys then came in. Now, the same has been replicated to other areas and industries. There are more services and products in the same market. It means that employers have now got to think about profit and profit alone. Now, if an employer thinks profit, what they're waiting to see if you come through the door to be interviewed is, I need someone who can make me money. I need someone who can solve my problem. Yes? It means that the psychic of the employer then changes completely from, I'm going to take you on because I like your face, or I'm going to hire you because you're my uncle's son, or because your mom sent my grandparents to the hospital. Those kind of sentimental stuff. They will fly out the window. Why? Because the world of work has become more and more competitive. Okay, so that's the first driver. The second one is globalization. I think it was Mrs. Adaura who was talking earlier that the world has become just one single market. That is the reality.
Yeah.
We haven't got the Nigerian market anymore. We haven't got the Chinese market. We haven't got the Asian market as a macro level. We haven't got the American market. We've got the marketplace. And what has also made that more possible is the introduction of businesses such as the Konga, the Jumai, Jumia, the Amazons, the eBays, and the rest of them. It means that anyone from any part of the world can just go into a market and shop. Is that not correct?
Yeah, very true.
Now, the implication of that is that to every little local business, you then have more diverse demographics of buyers, of consumers who would come and shop at your door. Yes?
Yeah.
Now, because of time zone differences, employers are now not just thinking about their local geographical location, they're thinking about everywhere where potentially they can have customers.
Yeah.
I may have sent someone to you once, but I don't think they came across. They had a problem. They live here in the UK. We are colleagues, but they bank with your bank.
Okay. Okay.
They live here, but every of their transaction happens back in Nigeria. So it means that if there is a customer service person who is going to be answering calls, they have to have a sense of a globalized service that they run, which means that their mannerisms on the phone, the way they attend to the customer, the etiquette. I think it was Mrs. Adara who mentioned earlier in her session, the etiquette that goes with it now has to be internationally friendly, user-friendly. Yes? So globalization means that anyone from anywhere can buy your services. It means that employers are employing people who can fit into the global space rather than just a local, trying to think about a local place now, Ikoyi or somewhere in, or, in Dubai. You've got to think beyond that. Unfortunately, the Nigerian job seeker is still very Nigerian in their thinking, and they're still very local in their setup, and some of them have not even become national, let alone to become international. I've got friends. I have a friend, actually, in Nigeria who's never been to the North in the whole of his life. He's 40-something. He's going to be 50 in another year or two. And you have pots of people in different places who would either just school in the North and live in the North, get married in the North, and that's all there is to them. There is no nationalness in the quality of the job seekers that we have, let alone internationalness. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So we need to begin to think like the employer is thinking. We've got to start thinking about a globalized place of work where you can become suitable to the employer so that they can begin to think about hiring you. And in no time, businesses began to outsource their services. In the UK, most of the banks at some point outsourced to India. And I've been thinking in my head and just, scratching my skull out thinking, when are we ever going to have a call center in Nigeria? Is there a problem with us? I mean, we speak, I don't mean to be derogatory to any part of the world. We speak better English.
Yeah, we do.
Our English is clearer to understand on the phone than, some of these Asian places, with no disrespect. Because when you call on the phone and you want to speak to someone, it's someone from India that picks up the call, and you struggle to hear what they're asking you, and, but you need help. Why can't we in Nigeria or in Africa become the hub where businesses will think to outsource their services to? Nike goes to Brazil, they're in Indonesia, they're in most of these other places producing. We can't even get Mokafum to stay in Nigeria. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what does the local job seeker then needs to start doing? They have to start positioning themselves into what I have taught in the last 8 years called glocalized jobs.
Glocalized.
Yes, it's just two words being played around each other, where you have the global sense of what you're thinking when you design your CV, but you're still local, which means that Bayo can hire you, but Benjamin can equally hire you from the United Kingdom. I've got a friend, he runs an IT business. The main IT guy who does the whole magic for him, he lives in Ukraine. He's never been to the UK, and he may never be. And they've never met. They work together. Franklin goes about, gets the job. sends a few emails, the guy delivers, and Franklin delivers to the client. We need to begin to think like that, where we're able to take roles from business from all over the world. And as business owners, you need to start thinking about that as well. You need to think that someone from any part of the world can want to do services or business with you. I was in a hotel a while ago in my father's town in Kogi State. And of course, I look nothing like someone from Kogi State, let alone speak the language, speak it fluently. So I was there for 5 days because doing a project for the government at the time, and there was not once that those guys spoke English whilst I was at the counter.
Wow.
They had conversations in Ibira language. I heard everything they said. But I just had it. I just, so on my way out on the 5th day, I gave a few tips and I gave it and spoke in Ibira. They were super shocked. They had to call the manager to come and talk to me, and then we had conversations. And then I said to him, so that was one part of it. I then said to him, I can give, customer service training to your guys because, you run what we call a universal service. There are certain services that are universal. Services like food, hospitality, like hotels, transportation. Those are universal services. Anyone from any part of the world can want to buy into such services.
Yeah.
Okay, so I said to him, let me train your guys. It was a hotel that could afford it. He took me into the reception, so I wouldn't mention the name of the hotel, and he said, so what will the customer service training do? I said, it will make customers come back, and it will retain customers to you. And he laughed sarcastically and said to me, took me into the hall and looked up and said, can you see that stuff there? That brings customers back. So I looked up. It was some, very dirty looking thing wrapped up in some stuff and just hung up there. So we haven't even begun to understand globalization just yet. And if nothing has taught us, COVID-19 should have. It means that whatever happens in one area can then begin to trickle down to other parts of the world in no time, very, very quickly. I was on the plane once, and this guy, I think the guy was from Malaysia. He was on the plane in Nigeria. Clearly not Nigerian, and he didn't look like he had been to the place because I was asking me questions. And the cabin crew guy was terribly rude to the man. I had to call him to the toilet area to say, look, you need to apologize. This is a global service you're running. You cannot be rude to someone. So he listened to me and went back to the aisle where this guy was sitting, and he prostrated. You can't see me on the video now. And he did something like, I'm very,
prostrated.
Now. The guy must have looked at him thinking, what is the drama going on here? Because we're not used, they are not used to being prostrated to. Now, these are tiny little things that businesses need to begin to train their staff about so that you become local, even as a business, much more so as a job seeker. The third and final driver of this change to the world of work is technology. It's emerging technology. I'm going to spend about 10 minutes on that one and finish off, and then you can ask questions. There are 3 forms of emerging technology, and I'm going to mention them in a minute because each of them will feature in the scenarios and case studies that I'm going to mention. But what is emerging technology? Emerging technology is any form of technology that has the capacity to change an existing industry or create a brand new one. That's an emerging technology. Okay. So, for example, if you think about the Uber app, that is a piece of technology that's come into the transportation logistics sector and has managed to transform the way that sector operates. That will be classified as an emerging technology.
Yeah.
We've got what we call the Airbnb. I think I've seen quite a few in Nigeria as well, where you hire out your home, people can come and stay there.
Yes.
Airbnb is just an app. Again, another emerging technology that has managed to transform the hospitality industry into what it is today. And then you've got the self-servicing technology within banking and all of that. So that's what emerging technology is. 3 forms of them. One of them is the AI. AI just simply talks about the software part of technology, which simulates how human beings think and tends to think like human beings and make decisions subsequently. That's AI. Then you've got the robotic. The robotic is another form of technology which has emerged, which will continue to take over the way things run, which is the hardware part of technology that tends to do what man would have done. And then you've got the 3D technology, which then brings to life a few things we're going to be looking at in a minute. Okay. So this is the point at which, if you're listening, if you're watching, you have got to then draw 4 columns. Okay. Draw 4 columns.
Okay.
You know, similar to that. Okay.
Yeah.
In the first column.
I've done that already.
Label it case study. Okay. In the second column, label it implication.
What's the first column again?
Case study or scenario.
Okay.
Yeah. Case study or scenario. The second one is implication. I'll explain this in a minute. The third one is intervention.
Interventions, okay.
Yeah, and the last one is specific actions.
Okay.
Now, whether you are a job seeker or you are an entrepreneur or you are a manager of a business, this is very applicable to you because each of those case studies is real and it's going to multiply into the job market, and the third and the last columns are the things that are going to help you as an individual to adapt going forward. I'm going to talk about the first one, give a few hints about implications, and then the other 2 columns are for individuals to go and do their homework about. Yes?
Go ahead.
Okay. The health sector, the healthcare industry, the healthcare sector, which includes the nurses, the medical doctors, and the administrators, and those who work in the laboratory, all of them fall in this category. There was the case of a chap in China. His name, Dr. Ling or something like that. Anyone can Google him. He managed to perform a brain surgery for his patient who was some 3,000 kilometers away from Dr. Ling. So no physical contact. 3,000 kilometers away. He was able to perform successfully that operation without any physical contact. Now it throws away every traditional form of wanting to do medicine, doesn't it? And going forward, because of the increased need for medical intervention and the reduction in the way people will move about, as we've seen through COVID-19, operations will carry on, and medical stuff will keep going on, and man has got to get by, and that's why technology is improving by the day. So he was able to do that. What's the implication of that? Okay, it means that, number one, medical personnel, medical people who are studying medicine now have to rethink medicine, don't they?
Yes, yes.
You know, you study anatomy in year 1, and then you go into specifics by the time you get to year 5 and all of that. You've then got to think about something extra to add to it. So very clearly, Dr. Ling wasn't using just his knowledge of medicine to perform that operation, was he? No. So individuals have got to rethink the element and the introduction of technology to that world of work, which is the healthcare sector. Okay, and then the third column would be the
interventions.
Intervention is about what do I, as an individual, now have to do. And the fourth one is the actions, the specific actions. How do I then break that what into the several bits where I then say, I'm going to do this first, and I'm then going to do this next. You put a time frame to each action. And you can do a Gantt chart with that if you want. There are various YouTube videos that teach how to do a Gantt chart, and it helps you to just map out, you know, what you're doing at different times. I want to talk about the agriculture sector as well.
Okay.
Of course, it goes without saying that the future of the economy lies in the hands of those who can go into proper agriculture. But just as you're not going to read anatomy and a few bits of biology stuff and then boom, you're relevant in the health sector, farmers have got to rethink the way that they enter that sector now. Okay, the new generation of farmers have got to rethink that. You've got drones, haven't you? You've got drones that are used. I think, you know, I've seen a lot of Nollywood movies. Fan of Nollywood movies a lot. In fact, to a fault, I watch a lot of them. I've seen them use drones to shoot films and all of that. Great, but we can take that to the farming land so that militants will have very little to slaughter in terms of human beings, because they're confronting drones. You're in your office and you're remotely controlling, you know, where the stuff lands, and you're using various mechanical stuff to do your work in a more tech way. There is a lab in America. They started growing beef. Okay, it's actually very possible that going forward, you may not have to slaughter a cow to be able to eat beef anymore because of various reasons, right? There's the animal rights drive who are given pressures upon pressures on how we treat animals, certainly so in the West. But going forward, all of the elements that come with an animal, like diseases and all of that, you can eliminate them, the bad stuff, you can take them out, the cholesterol, because you can now grow a pure beef in the laboratory using stem cells. Now that's going to be the way agriculture works. My friend Bayo, Ladi Adebayo's, I think I saw him join. He's a great guy. He lives here. He's a lawyer, but he owns an agricultural stuff in Nigeria. And it'll be good to see how we bring a bit of how we do things here into that setting. Okay. So that's all part of the future of work. if anyone wants to have a look at it, it's called Clean Meat.
Clean meat.
Yeah, if you type clean meat, you're going to see the lab, you're going to see how it works, and how they try to grow beef in the laboratory. The hospitality sector, that includes the hotel, the restaurants, and what have you. We talked about the Airbnb. Now that's changed the way hotels work. As a matter of fact, the hotel business in the UK, they had to start doing discounts in order to be able to attract customers now, because you know, people are renting out their rooms, and if you rent out your room, you don't even have to pay tax on top of it. So whatever you make is your money. So it's more attractive to people to go into in business, but it's even much more attractive for them to slash down the cost of service, which means that more traffic goes to them. Okay. Now I'm giving you these different sectors so that you, as the individual who's listening, who's either looking for work or looking to upgrade, will then begin to rethink the skills that you need to enter those sectors. And you can ask me questions as we go. I just want to quickly finish in the next few minutes. Hologram is a part of the emerging technology that we're talking about. It's the bit where you simulate yourself into a situation. It's been used for years. Most of the pilots that we see today had to train using the hologram. So where they are able to have visual, what's it called now? Skipped my mind. I'll come back in a minute. Where you're able to bring visual reality. So you bring the
simulation.
Yes, simulation. Okay. Yeah. Now there are hotels now around the world that are giving customers the opportunity to view their rooms and the facilities, move around the toilets, go to the bathroom, have a feel of the bed before they have to do their booking. Okay. So they move about, they look at what's going on, make a decision, make their booking. Do you see who's cut out right there? As job seekers, yes? So it means that the attendant who is on the phone, or someone who's checking for people, whether they're in rooms or not, that flies out the window. Yeah. So you've then got to start rethinking, what can I do as a business to reposition myself so that I'm still relevant. Okay. The services industry, which includes the financial services, things like cleaning and the rest of them. We talked about it earlier, but more of the financial services and other forms of services are engaging technology to do the work the man will do. But is that going to make getting into those jobs more difficult? No, it just means that those jobs will require more different kinds of skills.
Yeah.
When the CCTV camera came into the UK in the 70s, around the 80s, when it started, I mean, the fear was that it would make a lot of police officers lose their jobs, but it hasn't done that. What it has done instead is it's created more jobs. They are constantly short of the numbers that they need to do the job of a policeman. Okay, because with more CCTV cameras means more crimes are captured, more prosecutions are done, more investigations needed, and all of that. So even within those sort of industries that I'm talking about, it's meant to be seen in the eye of it's good news. Which is why when you go away after the session and you're doing your homework, you're then going to be able to start seeing various ways through which you as an individual can have a little bit of action in place. In manufacturing, we know about driverless technology. It's going to happen over time. What's going to happen to the Uber drivers? What's going to happen to Deliveroo and other drivers? Does it mean that they are going to suddenly lose their jobs? Actually, no, it doesn't mean that they will lose their jobs, because initially technology, when it emerges, it's extremely expensive to come by. Very few can engage with it, which means the majority will not still use it yet. And at the time when it becomes popular, it means that the prices have crashed, and people are able to now begin to and buy them. But whilst I talk about manufacturing of cars, driverless cars, I need to mention here that when you hear or listen to some of these scenarios, you've got to think about what are the I call them the stakeholders by proxy. Who and who might this particular scenario also affect? For example, if you have a driverless car now that replaces the Uber driver, does it mean therefore that, which again requires a bit of thinking here, it suddenly begins to suggest that there may be less accidents on our roads?
Yeah, true.
It means that apart from the manufacturers who may have to rethink the way they work as engineers and drivers, we've got to think about motor mechanics and work specialists, the panel beaters. Okay, we've got to think about them. We've got to think about insurance companies that insure vehicles. We've got to think about even injury lawyers. Okay, so all of those things will have their residual effect on those stakeholders. So when you're thinking the intervention, think about you, but also think about the other stakeholders that
the value chain.
The value chain of effects. Yes, absolutely. I've got just 2 or 3 more. Education. I mean, it goes without saying, we're now having this session. My classes are run online. They've been running online for a little while now. My students engage online, and it feels almost the same. It doesn't feel so different. As a matter of fact, we can draw a pros and cons chat to look at, does it even give more benefits than, and all of that. So that's changing. And search engines for students are going to change. Now, where is all of these leading to? They are leading to a point where we begin to think, what are some of the things that will begin to sell in the marketplace? Okay, it means that software developers are going to be scarcely present in the market because there's going to be a lot of need for them. I think globally now, the world by 2030 is going to need about 45 million software developers.
Wow, 45 million.
There's hardly going to be 45 million. There's hardly going to be that many. Because not many people are thinking about veering into software development, because everyone is thinking the banking, the nursing, the medicine, the law, and all of that. Most people are not thinking software development because it's just not one of those things. But all of these future works will require a bit of software and hardware. So that's where parents should begin to really think of encouraging their children to. Schools need to begin to think about rewriting their curricula, and companies need to start rethinking how to train and how they budget for training, because that's going to be the future of things. And when we say the future, we're not talking 100 years. We're talking 3, 5, 7 years. See how very quickly it's taken us to move from physical meetings to online meetings like this.
Virtual meetings,
It happened in just days.
Wow.
And before, changes used to happen within 10 years, 20 years. But these days, they happen so quickly. There was one of the iPhone brands that came up. Before the next one came, it was like a year or two. But now, within months, you can have one iPhone 10, and then you have iPhone 10X, and then you have iPhone 11, because the ability to invent, to innovate is now current and present.
Wow.
Retail, that's going to change, just like banking. There is the technology called the Amazon Go store. Allows you to go into the store and just pick up the items that you want and just go, don't pay. But of course you pay. You pay money, it gets deducted from your account as soon as you walk through the door, because you've installed an app. It throws out the window a few bits around those who are the partners, the servers and all of that, but it creates jobs in other places. I think I'm going to stop here. And allow people to think. There's a lot to take in. There's such a lot to take in. If we were doing a physical workshop, a normal, workplace workshop, we will be pausing at intervals and asking people to do a bit of activities, because that's how you get to the best use of this.
Wow.
But as I said, put those four and what are the interventions? How do I put actions in place to help me stay relevant as individuals or stay relevant as a business?
Wow. Awesome. Beauty. You've just taken us like a lecturer, dissected this and given us so much to think about. I mean, I have to go over this and sit down, do some introspection, and come up with so many things. Fantastic. Awesome. Thank you. Now, let me ask a quick question. We have barely a little bit over 5 minutes to go now. You've conducted employability workshops in Nigeria since, I think, 2012, like you said.
Yeah.
I've joined you on a couple. Now, you live in the UK, you work in the UK. What are your observations about the Nigerian graduates? You have seen them for so many years now. You were also part of the system at a point before you migrated and all that. You work in an entirely different environment right now. What do you think about the Nigerian graduates?
Boy, there's a lot of stuff, but I think to summarize it, we just need to be a bit more globally aware. I think that's how I would put it. We're not globally aware yet. And sometimes when I go to my social media page and I start writing things, it's because I'm trying to benchmark where we are with where the rest of the world is. And thinking the graduate who leaves university from Nigeria, maybe after several strikes at 27, 28, 30, 32 years of age, is going to come out and compete with someone who has gone through university for just 3 years, has had interactions with the industry, has done a bit of placement, has come out, done a bit of voluntary work, which means that their CV is not just reading certificate, but instead a bit of certificate, a bit of work experience, a bit of, and you're going to be competing in the same marketplace. It means then that we need to be thinking like the rest of the world thinks. And that's my summary of the gap.
Wow. Okay, now, you touched a little bit about the curriculum, because essentially, if anything is going to change about the Nigerian graduates, we have to rethink our education. How can they measure up to global standards? Do you think the education curriculum in Nigeria has to be changed, tweaked in one way or the other? In 2 minutes, what do you think?
Okay, there's a Professor Michael Porter. I mean, he's a great guy. I follow him a lot. He's been teaching strategy, national strategy, organizational strategy for many, many years. And one of the things that he came up with is called the diamond analysis. What this helps to do is to help not organizations, countries, to decide what makes them competitive in the global world. And one of the key areas is education and business, where we begin to create skills that are relevant so that when businesses are wanting to think about the various places where they can invest their business, they find that you've got skills readily available in that your country. Okay? And we cannot do that unless we begin to work between the government and the institutions. I work with a lot of professors. Unfortunately, although some of these universities are private universities, the curriculum is still the same because they hired guys from the traditional universities. So they've just brought a heap of their handouts and they've done the same thing. I work in the university, I lead modules, and I know how much work has to go in every semester to make sure that what I'm teaching this semester is relevant to the market now, as opposed to teaching three months ago contents. Does that make sense? So very, very many gaps I have seen. But what can you do? It has to start on a national level.
Wow. Okay, maybe we still have about 3 minutes. Let me quickly chip in this. There are skill gaps in Nigeria. Okay, you're a business mechanic and employability advisor. There are skill gaps in Nigeria, and it is very obvious a lot of times when you interview prospective employees. Now, what can they do? You know, practical steps that potential employees can take to address these skill gaps.
Do you mean employers or employees? Employees, right?
I'm talking about employees themselves.
Okay,
I want to address
the first thing is anyone who's looking for work, stop going into job search as someone who's looking for work. That sounds obvious, or it sounds confusing maybe, but you never go in looking for work with that attitude of I need a job. Go in with the attitude of I am a solution to a problem for you. And one of the ways to do that is, this is where you become less selfish and more empathetic and sympathetic towards the organization that you want to work with. By researching, Mrs. Adaura mentioned a lot about researching. Research the organization, do a SWOT analysis of yourself and the organization, and begin to look at what are the gaps in that organization, what are my strengths, how can I pitch myself to that organization to show them that I can solve their organizational problem. And that then begins to open up a lot of areas where you begin to think about your personal development actions. Okay, that's a key thing to do. I think a lot of people go into looking for work from the point of view of I need a job. I'm the firstborn in my family. I'm the breadwinner. Employers don't want to hear that going forward. They don't care. You know?
Wow. Okay. Our time is gone now. We have just about a minute more on this.
Yeah.
This has been a very fantastic discussion, BOT. I must thank you for coming, even at very short notice. I want to really thank you. I want to appreciate you. Thank you so much for sharing with us a lot of insights about the future of work. This is something a lot of us have to watch over and over and over again. And I am actually glad that I brought you last, because this will get a lot of people thinking, not just to get them excited, but to get us do some level of introspection. Now, you are the last guest I'm bringing. I've been having this series of interviews since Monday, celebrating my 20 in 2020. And I'm glad that you've been able to share a lot of information with us this evening. Thank you so much, BOT. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. My audience, can you please just give him a big clap? Thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much, Brian.
All the way from the United Kingdom, thank you so much. I appreciate you. God bless you. God keep you. And may God cause his face to shine upon you. Thank you so much. Thank you for what you're doing for the educational sector in Nigeria. Thank you so much. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you.
And this is going to still be on my Insta story for some time, for the next 24 hours. Yeah. And then I'll try to migrate it to YouTube so that it can be something more permanent. Thank you so much, BOT. And I'll see you next time. Thank you.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye.
Yeah.